welcome to Impact 2026, our continuing conversation where we talk about all different types of topics, current events. We talk about race, we talk about religion, everything that you possibly could want to talk about. And as always, we remind people that this is that opportunity for you to participate in the conversation as well. So feel free to type your questions and your comments into the comment section, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, just go ahead and just type into the little chat area and the comments will come up on the screen and we'll address them. You just don't want to listen to what we have to say. You want to be a part of the conversation. So if you like it, say that you like it. If you don't like it, say that you don't like it. If there's something you totally disagree with, please let us know what it is. But feel free to be a part of the conversation. As always, I like to remind people about the other offerings that we have. On Thursdays at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube, we have Thursday Thirst. That's our weekly Bible study. On Sundays at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we have worship service. Please join us. That's Facebook, YouTube, and in person at the address on your screen if you are in this area. And then on Tuesdays today at 7 o'clock from 7 to 7:45, we have a time of prayer. That is when you can pray with the people of this ministry. You don't have to pray from 7 to 7:45, but just if you put up a prayer sometime in between there, know that you're praying with this ministry. And then as always, you're here at Impact 2026. I like to always just jump right into these topics. There's no reason to play around. There is a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, but specifically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what's going on locally here in Virginia. So if you're out of town, this is a Virginia day, sorry. And locally in Virginia and even more locally in the Richmond, Henrico, the Metro Richmond area. So just to kind of tee it up, and this is actually an international story as well. So just to tee it up, right now what's going on is kind of a revolution and a pushback towards cell phone usage amongst kids. As we know, there's been a lot of studies and research that have gone on that talks about some of the negative effects that come with cell phone and the high number of kids who have addictive personalities when it comes to cell phones. Just listening to an article the other day, listening to a news article or news story the other day where they were talking about how teens have started to get violent when you ask them to put away their cell phones or take away their cell phones in school settings. And it's not a violence of this is a violent teen, but it is a immediate and unconscious reaction to being separated from the phone, where they were showing, okay, all right, this is a real and true addiction. It's similar like if somebody just grabbed your purse and you turn around and just smack them in the face or hit them. It's just one of those reactions, which shows, all right, this is an addictive behavior. And so as a result, here in Virginia, we had a law just recently signed by the governor here that was designed to make sure that in schools, we restricted the amount of cell phone use. And what that has done is said from the time that they get there, the first bell to the last bell, the amount of cell phone use should be restricted, basically eliminated. And so the schools have now had the responsibility to try to figure out how to do that. Here in Henrico County has gotten even a little deeper, where they're now, the school board is now looking at their policies because the policy goes into effect July 1, 2026. And if you are looking at the date, that's pretty close. That's the end of the month, beginning of next month. And so they have to decide to put in their policies. And so here in Henrico, what they're doing is looking at the policies and make sure that not only during school or during class time that students are not looking at their phones and there's a separation from their phones, but it's also during lunch and during walking through the hallways. Because of course at lunch, instead of eating, everybody would be down just looking at their devices. And so that's what we're discussing today. And to give it one step further, internationally, other countries are attacking this in similar fashion. Just recently, Sweden decided to ban phones from schools for all of their school-age children. And so this is not just a U.S. thing. This is not just a Virginia thing. This is not just a Henrico thing. This is going on throughout the world. And so that's what we're here to discuss today. And I am not by myself. So today we have a guest that we can really get into the topic at hand. Sorry, I have to do some adjusting here. And here we go. Still a little bit more adjusting. And thank you, man. It's the magic of production. There we go. I think that's good. That'll work. All right. And so I have Ms. Arrington here with me today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And so we're just going to hop right into it. And again, as a reminder, please feel free to type your questions and your comments in the comment section. So just overall, based on what's going on as far as pulling phones away from students, taking phones out of the classroom, giving that moment of separation and breaking that cycle of constant screen time. How do you feel about that? Do you think that that's a good decision? Is that a positive step for us to be taken as, as a city, as a state, as society, to kind of break the cycle of having schools and phones? Or are you or do you feel a little bit more like maybe we are going too far? How's your initial thoughts on that?
So my initial thoughts is that it's really much needed in this day and age. That it is a crucial step to take towards being able to be impactful, on our youth, during the time that they are supposed to be in school learning. So I really think it's not just something that they just thought about doing just because, but I think it's something that they thought about doing because it's crucial, it's needed, it's pretty much required at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a massive switch. So I don't know how it was for you, but I know for me, when I was in school, if you were caught with a cell phone, you were suspended, and it wasn't like just
Right.
so you were suspended for a day. It was a nasty suspension. I want to say it was like 7 or 9 days. It was something crazy. And then we've gone all the way to now. Not only do you have a phone, and there's almost an expectation that everybody, when you get to like middle school, high school level, that all of them will have phones. It is okay for those phones to be out and about while they're trying to learn.
Right.
Initially when this happened a couple of years back, I thought, okay, well, they're going to be all cheating. When it's in math, they're going to be like, calculator,
Right.
or, social studies, they'll be looking at the answer. But that has not been the problem. The problem has been they just can't detach from social media, or can't detach from texting one another. And so going back to kind of the question there, it is going to change behavior. But is that what the school should be looking to do? Should we be educating, or should we be trying to kind of social engineer people and change behavior? Have we kind of stepped over a little too far, or is that exactly where we need to be?
I think that's exactly where we need to be. As you mentioned before, I came out in 04.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have cell phones in the classroom.
Exactly,
and if we were caught with cell phones in the classroom, like you said, like a 10-day suspension,
Mm-hmm.
We survived.
Right.
So, we survived. So I think it's, and now kids are dealing with a lot more issues than we dealt with.
Yeah.
I'm talking about bullying, from a social media perspective. So that kind of takes into consideration. I think the importance and the significance of us to kind of switch towards, restricting.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't say, I don't think they said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they said banning it altogether, but restricting the amount of time that they, screen time within the classroom.
Right. Yeah. Because, as we know, parents are different now.
Right.
Back in the day, you could hop on your little bike, you could ride to the store, you could walk down the street by yourself. Now everybody is a helicopter parent in society. We're helicopter parents where we don't let our kids just kind of go out here. And so the anxiety that may be on some of the parents of not having constant contact with their kids, I think that's the reason that they're not just banning it all together, where you can't even bring it onto the bus or bring it into the building. We're kind of placating to the kids, and so or placating to the parents. And so how, the question is, not only do we have to talk to the kids, but we have to talk to the parents, because how do we get the parents to kind of detach? As much as we think the kids are addicted to social media, I think parents are overly addicted to having constant contact to their kids.
That's absolutely true. Now that's the question. How do we, other than restricting so that you don't have access, how do we navigate to a point where they're actually in school doing instruction time, learning and not communicating with their parent or communicating with another student?
Yeah. No, I think that's the big deal, because you know how parents are nowadays.
Right.
I mean, if you get, they're trying to negotiate their children's grades and try to come in. So I think that it's a conversation with parents.
Right. And I think one of the things that I see going on nowadays is that teachers are actually using cell phones to communicate with the parents. So if the teacher is using to communicate with the parent, then the communication with the child shouldn't be quite the fear, because you're still in communication. You know what's going on with your child.
Yes.
Now, I gotta tell you, I had this conversation with somebody else quite a while ago, when they were talking about banning, and I was like, based on previous experience, we've had emergencies in school, we had school shootings,
Yes.
and so I was like, if I had a child going to school, I don't know if I would want it banned. But and that was my stance at first.
Yes.
Then I had to realize, well, what message are we sending?
Mm-hmm.
To our children that we're sending to school to get an education, but we're texting them or we're allowing them to communicate because who's providing that service?
Yeah.
Their parents.
Yeah.
To allow them to communicate, back and forth with the parent or back and forth with another student all day long. When I send you to school to learn.
Yeah.
I send you to school to get an education.
Yeah. And I think you hit on one of these topics that this kind of deviates a little bit, but this is a topic that I've kind of held on to. And again, if any comments or questions about it, please feel free to put them in. I think we pass on sometimes some unhealthy fears onto our children. For example, if you were scared of dogs and you have children around, if you go around and you tell these children dogs are bad, they'll bite you, they'll do this and they'll do that, then you'll put that fear of dogs in them that they may not have naturally had. And so I think that sometimes what we do as parents, again, a helicopter parent, well, not even just parents, just adults, period. Whether you're a parent, aunt, uncle, friend, community person, whatever, is that we sometimes put too much fear into our kids. And I think nowadays our kids aren't as well equipped as they used to be. We used to be scared because of the milk carton. You don't want your picture on that milk carton, or if somebody's car comes up, don't hop in it or anything like that. But now it's gone so far as you better have your cell phone because it might be a school shooting, or you better know what to do with this, and you can't walk down the street because people be snatching kids. I think we're putting some unhealthy fears into our kids sometimes, and maybe this cell phone thing maybe will break a little bit of that away. But let's talk about that. Are we putting fear into our kids when they should be out here, maybe trying to be a little bit more brave and go out here and explore and do things? You think we kind of went too far, or?
Right. I do think that we are putting a lot more fear into our kids to just be dependable, right? So anything that you have a close attachment to, you become dependent upon, right? So what are we teaching them as adults who are saying that you must have a cell phone? That's a necessity. Pretty much is what we're telling them.
Right.
But we tell them all the time that there's the difference between a need and a want. You may want a cell phone, but do you actually need a cell phone? To maintain, your lifestyle that you should, as a child, as a teen, young adult, whatever the case may be. And I also think that we are not preparing them for adulthood when we do that.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go to work, you have times where you may work at a job that requires you to put your cell phone in the locker throughout the day.
Right.
So, if you work at a call center, can you be distracted by your personal cell phone?
Right.
There's some things that, some responsibilities that come with adulthood. And I think to prepare them for adulthood, which I think that's the aim, when they go to school, to prepare them to be adults, to be good citizens. We kind of are changing things.
I think you just really hit it right there. If we're preparing you for adulthood, we're preparing you for life. You can't use your cell phone all the time in life. Right. So why you have it all the time in school? We were making bad habits. So let's take it to the church, exactly where we need to go, because cell phone usage in the church has gone crazy. I mean, listen from the pulpit, and you can tell me whether or not. Do you see a lot of heads? The heads are down. Now they're not necessarily praying. I don't know if they're necessarily looking at the Bible while you're talking. Do you think maybe we need to consider in some churches, maybe like, hey, look, before you start your sermon, I need all y'all put your cell phones away. Is it something that we might need to start concentrating on and talking about in the church? Because I listen, I'm up there in the pulpit area, so I can see, and I'd be like, look, they on that phone, not that they're not listening. Maybe they looking up this, I don't know. But do you think we might need to start pointing that out in different churches?
I would say yes and no. I would say Yes, because I think that sometimes it is a distraction, right?
Mhm.
And so we come to church to worship, we come to church to glorify, we come to church to hear the word, right?
Mhm.
And so I think sometimes the phone can be a distraction. However, I also think that the phone can enhance the worship service
Mhm.
when used properly,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think there's a difference when you talk about, what are you using that cell phone for?
Mhm.
And even as I'm sitting here conversating with you now, I can hear, I can hear my voice, here in my head. Like I like to hear those pages turning. So you can download the Bible on your phone, right?
Uh-huh.
And you can go straight to it. But I had a pastor who used to always tell me, I like to hear those pages turning.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
don't pick up your phone,
Mhm.
turn those pages. Like I like to hear the pages turning. So I think there is truly some benefit to old school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like pen and paper.
Mhm. Yeah. No.
Also, technology, it works when it want to works, but it's not always
Mhm.
guaranteed to work the way you think it's going to work.
Yeah.
And so if you learn, and we're going off a little bit topic, but same thing, you go to McDonald's and you go through the drive-thru, you got a worker that's using their cell phones to calculate how much change you're giving back.
Yeah.
Same scenario,
Yeah.
when used properly, yes. But what are we teaching them?
Mhm.
Are we teaching them the basics that they need to survive,
Right.
to be good citizens? Or are they constantly depending on technology?
Yeah. That's oof. All right. We got a couple of comments. They don't seem to be able to detach from looking at a screen. Devices have become companions, friends, and the absence of these devices now leads to depression, loneliness, and even suicide. Yeah, and I think that's
Right.
now we're going into the AI part as well. So not only is it a friend and companion now, but when it starts talking back to you and answering
Right.
your questions and giving you companionship,
Right.
yeah, we might be we might be in a little bit of trouble. I think that's and that goes back to kind of what we were talking about with the it's an addiction. And
Right.
when you separate, they some of these kids get violent. But
Mhm.
and again, I want to make sure I put this out here. It's not on purpose. It's not like not necessarily on purpose. Some
Right.
of them are, but sometimes addictive behavior is not on purpose.
Right.
So we can't be all right. These are bad kids, and we want to lock them up and do all this. No. We got to understand like they're attached to this stuff.
Right. So I was watching a story that aired, and it was about a young teacher. I guess maybe in her mid-20s,
Mhm.
who was teaching a class. She asked the student to put the phone away.
Mhm.
The student refused to put the phone away. She asked 3 times. So after she asked 3 times, she took the phone.
Mhm.
Do you know that student turned around and broke her phone?
Ooh.
Got physical with her
Uh-huh.
and broke her phone. So again, what are we teaching
Right.
our students? So
Right.
that goes just beyond the use of a phone.
Mhm.
Where's the respect for authority?
Right.
Where's the self-discipline?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I will say, as we were talking on the subject of, the social media, it brings another thing into a lot of kids are dealing with bullying.
Yeah.
Where does that start?
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, social media.
Yeah. We're gonna circle back on that. I'm gonna go to this next comment. So unless they're looking at the service, they need to have their phones and tablets off. Pay attention.
Correct.
Yeah. Look at it, because look, even if you're let's say you have your Bible app, you could go down and all of a sudden be, oh yeah, I know that there's another verse like this, and now you're looking at another verse
Right.
and looking at another verse, and you could be, pure at heart, where I'm just looking at all of these verses and how I connect. So then there might be a little comment that talks about the verse, and you start reading that. Next thing you know, you done missed the whole sermon because
Right.
you've gone down this little, So I kind of lean more towards that, where it says just it does, it can enhance, but it can be a trap.
Right.
Same when they talk about doom scrolling or whatever, you looking up a recipe, and next thing you know, you done gone down this thing of looking
Right.
at foods in foreign countries and how they make them and all this, So
Right.
I do think it's a trap.
Right.
But yeah. So to circle back, and that was a good comment. I like that. To circle back, talking about social media
Mhm.
and with the phones, and we're talking about bullying. I'm a person, and I'm not on social media. Anybody who's talked to me really knows that. But to me, it's so simple. Turn it off. turn your social media off, or turn your phone off, or walk away. If I was on the phone with somebody and they was being mean, I'd hang up. But I have an understanding that it's not that easy.
Right. It's not. It's an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Any type of addiction that you have, no matter what type of addiction it is, it's going to be challenging and difficult for you to walk away, or for you to kind of remove yourself from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
The same way it's difficult if you're in an abusive relationship to kind of remove yourself from that abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The same way if you're addicted to drugs,
Mm-hmm.
to remove yourself from drugs, alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be, whatever that addiction is, and you can be addicted, same addiction to food.
Mm-hmm.
If you're addicted to food, it's going to be hard to push away from that table, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you want that last piece of cake. You want them grapes.
Mm-hmm.
You want that piece of pizza, that fried chicken. So it's just like any other addiction, and I think the difficulty is that we as adults are encouraging the bad behavior.
Yeah.
Right. Because even as adults, we walk around and we're distracted almost 24 hours a day from our phone.
Yes.
The time we wake up, the first thing we doing is checking our phone.
Checking the phone, yes.
Before we go to bed, the last thing we do is checking the phone.
Mm-hmm.
The phone is in our bed with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. We driving down the road.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta check our phone.
Right.
Somebody calling me, and I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I may be one of those people that need to be like, wait a minute, because if my phone dings or if it lights up, it's notifying me, and so that makes me want to look at it even more,
right,
knowing that I shouldn't be distracted, right? Because we just talked about it. It takes 1 second for you to look down at your phone and change somebody's life forever.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just the reality of it. I think that as adults, influencing, children, young adults, teens, preteens, we are encouraging that bad behavior because they're modeling. Behavior is learned. They're modeling that behavior from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, because I had to, I went down a bad path as well. So I was never one of the, I'm going to be on my phone, driving. But I had started doing the thing where when you get to the stoplight and it's red, all right, I'm going to look down and see what's going on. Right. And, you get honked on a couple times, and you look up and all the people, they done left. And so I realized, look, now I can't even do that. Like that's, I had to step away because that was a bad path. And then, my children in the back were like, hey, you're supposed to go. And so now I'm being a bad example of them because they think it's okay to look at your phone when you're at the stoplight. It's not, because, as they say in the streets, keep your head on the swivel. Even when you're at the stop sign, you got to know what's going on. Right. So, yeah, you're right. We as adults, and not even the kids, just any kid that's looking at you. Kids are looking at us all the time, whether you're at work, whether you're at the grocery store, whatever. We're setting an example. I think we are. All right. Recently, studies have shown that AI is harming people's ability to think and reason. It may even begin to impact creativity. Yes. And so I'm gonna swing that to you, but I want to mix that in with the school conversation, because now with the phone and even AI, I think that whether they're doing their school reports at home or whatever, you got AI, which is really going to give you all the answers so you don't have to think. I remember when I was young, I used to ask my mom the answers to questions, and she would be like, well, go find out for yourself. And I'm like, but it's so much easier if you just tell me.
Right.
And she'd be like, no, if you think about it, then you'll learn something. And so AI is kind of like doing what my mom didn't do, which was giving me all the answers. And so now these kids don't have to think.
Right.
What do you think?
And again, it goes back to, are we really preparing them for adulthood? What are they learning?
Right.
Other than I can pick up my phone at any time and, get the answer to the question that I had. But also not realizing that that answer may not be the best choice for them, you know,
Right. Yeah.
because there is also, so although AI is helping, there's someone actually behind that AI that is navigating. And so you're actually trusting someone else decision making to help you. And then it robs you of your creativity, it robs you of your individuality, you know, because how do you express that when you're constantly relying on AI to do your work? I think we're telling our age, but when I was growing up, it was encyclopedia. You know, we went to the library.
Yes.
You know, we had to figure it out.
The decimal system.
Right. So I mean, it didn't harm us in any way.
Right.
So, but again, what are we teaching?
Yeah. I think that goes to that comment. I think that's the path. We can't be teaching non-independence, like just reliance on AI. And so I think we kind of came up with the cheat code here. Look, if as society we decide to get these phones out of their daily life, school life, and break that right there, because that's a long time that they're in school.
Right.
And then on Sundays, because everybody's going to go to church, if we kind of break you a little bit away in that time that you are in church praising the Lord, you can focus on God and focus on the service instead of focusing on the phone. Then those will be two opportunities, basically almost every day of the week, where we know that you'll understand, that the kids will understand, you got to break away and you got to break free.
Right.
And those pauses will help.
Right. And I'm going to challenge you even further, right? So when we were kids, I got my first cell phone at 18.
Mm-hmm.
I was 18 when I got my first cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need it,
right.
You know, because I survived, you know, without it. So, you know, it was once upon a time that we sat down at the dinner table and we ate dinner as a family.
Mm-hmm.
But now you go to somebody's house and you go to the dinner table, you see 4 or 5 phones.
Yeah.
You know, we went outside, we played kickball, we played dodgeball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did things outside. We played red light, green light. You know, Simon Says we did things outside. You know,
mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that's missing today. Like they're either on the phone or on the game.
Mm-hmm.
Still a form of social media.
Yeah.
You know, either way you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens when, you know, we practice? We have to practice at home and say, hey, you know, for 30 minutes, I need you to put your phone away at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Can you give me 30 minutes in the evening?
Right.
You know, on a Saturday, hey, can I get 2 hours of your time? You know, can we go to the park? Can we go to the museum? You know, without your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, you know. So then I think, you know, we tend to, or we start to, you know, model the behavior that we are looking to see, which is for them not to be so dependent on a cell phone. Yes, I do think that there are times when cell phones are needed, obviously. You know, we're in a different age of time, and yes, cell phones are needed, but I also think that there is a limitation to it. There needs to be some type of discipline.
Yeah. And I'll even further, I think as adults we need to do that with one another. We have an adult hangouts, an adult no phone hangout. Like, let's go to go get something to eat, and let's leave our phones in the car. Or let's go to the museum. That's a good one.
Right.
At the end of the day, people still gonna try to take their phone in. Let's just leave it in the car, or, you know, I think as adults we probably need to do that same advice. You know. So I'll say this, because our time is pretty much it's gone away. But I'll say this, as churches, and you've done it, we've done it, you know, I think it's important that we have activities like game nights, where we bring in kids in or bring in adults in. It was crazy because I do scouts, and the scouts, their age, the ages I deal with, little 6-year-olds all the way up to about 11-year-olds.
Okay.
And you find out that none of them know how to play card games.
Right.
And none of them know how to. They didn't know how to play paper football, or they, almost none of them know how to ride their bikes. Couple do, but they don't know marbles. I brought out marbles. They never seen it. They didn't know what it was, and so it was. You don't know. They don't know how to operate without technology. And so for us as community leaders, as churches, having those events like that for adults and children, I think shows them what they're not being shown. It's not like they're going to the Boys and Girls Club or hanging out in the neighborhood like we used to, or having vacation Bible school in summer. They just don't have all those things that we used to have. And so I think that's why I always like the fact that when I see other people doing it, I always will like thank you for showing kids games again. Uno,
Right.
Connect Four, Monopoly. That's a long game, but just it's always good. I think if you can't do anything else, we could at least do that and give people an opportunity to kind of disconnect. Because you can bring your phone into those settings all you want, but you're going to lose it everything, and you're going to be unhappy. You're going to have to put that phone away so that you can pay attention when you're playing whatever game you're playing. And so it's little small gestures like that. And as the church and as community leaders, I think little small things like that, we can really help one another.
Absolutely. And as you were talking, something else crossed my mind. We're preparing them for adulthood, right? And so when you enter into a court building, you can't take your phone. Well, let me rephrase that. You used to not be able to take your phone. Recently, I went into a court building. You can take your phone in there. However, it is locked.
Oh, they lock it in the locker.
That is locked. And the only way that you can get it is leaving out. They have a key that you don't have access to, and when you leave out, then you can get it. And so the same thing I thought about was, we can respect the court system, we can respect the judge, but we can't respect teachers, we can't respect pastors, we can't respect adults who are trying to invest into your future. And so, it kind of made me think, if we can do that, then why can't we come together and say, okay, for a few hours during the day, my child will not be accessible, but I'm also expecting my child to be being taught, right? Somebody is pouring into my child. Same thing at home. Not only do I want somebody else to pour into my child, I want to pour into my child. So I'm going to make that sacrifice. Even I got to put my phone away for 30 minutes while we're at dinner. Hey, how was your day? What went on?
Yeah.
Or like I said, on Saturday, hey, let's go to the park. Let's go to the museum. Let's play kickball. Let's go to the basketball court. But things that are going to once again bring us together. And I think that in this day and time, when we have somebody who is trying to divide us, do everything possible to divide us, we need to come together.
Now that was some people leave their Bibles in the car. So they instead of leaving their phone in the car, they're leaving their Bibles in the car. That's a good one. Some churches are getting off social media and requiring persons to come back to the church building. We are past our time, but I'm going to leave it on that, where you address that. Some churches are getting off social media and requiring persons to come back to the church building. What do you feel like? How do you feel about that?
I think the intention is good, but I also think that we also need to think about the individuals who may not be able to get there in person. So the sick and shut in, the elderly that may not be able to get in, but can still access, virtually and still get the word. So the Bible tells us not to forsake the fellowship of one another, which is true, right? But what happens when you have somebody in a hospital bed, or what happens when you have somebody that has limited mobility? What happens when you have somebody that is just unable to get to your worship experience? We got to meet people where we are. We say it all the time. We got to meet people where we are. So, and meeting them where they are, that may require us to say, hey, we are still going to stream live. Because there are members that cannot get to us in person. Now, should it be our every Sunday thing? Absolutely not. But when extenuating circumstances happen, I think that should be an option.
That's good. And I'm gonna say, I gotta say something real quick. And it also, so for example, when I went away to college, they didn't have, where I could log in and look at my church here. So when I went away to college, I had to go and find another church. I think that is a necessary, for me, I believe that that's a necessary process of life. I don't think you should always be connected to your home church if you move out of state or out of town or everything like that, maybe once in a while. But I think there's a responsibility for you to get connected with a local ministry. One, it'll help you grow your faith because you'll hear different messages. And two, you'll build a bigger base of people. You got your home family and you got your away family. But it'll also, you can't be a community from afar. And
Right.
so I do think, I agree with what you're saying, but I do think that there's some importance in the fact that we shouldn't always be connected to our church. There should be times if you went out of town, you were on vacation, it would be nice to log in and see the service, but it also may be nice that you in Tennessee, go to the church in Tennessee, see what they talk about out there, see how it's different out there. God is not just at your church. It's and so I do think that there's some benefits to that. You got anything you want to say about that? Because I did say a lot there. I didn't want to okay.
I definitely agree with you. It's part of the journey, right? And so we are a unified body of Christ. And so if you stay in that little corner, then that's where you're gonna stay.
Right.
But you have to, as you said, branch out and be willing to branch out and be comfortable with branching out.
Yes.
So that you can arrive at where you want to arrive. You know.
Yeah. No, I truly believe that. All right, we have passed our time. Sorry. Thank you. I think this was great. This was a really good conversation. I think it's important. Some of the things we talked about today. So continue that conversation on. The comment section is still, gonna be active. So just in case you want to drop something in there. As always, like to go through real quickly. Reminder again on Thursdays. This Thursday, 7:00. We'll have Thursday weekly Bible study. Sunday, 10:00. We have Eastern Standard Time. We have service. Also at 11:45. Service. You on Facebook and YouTube?
Yes, Facebook and YouTube.
Okay. So there as well, and in person, same address if you want to come in person. And then on Tuesdays, 7:00, we have prayer here. Anything else you want to plug? I didn't want to short you on anything.
No.
All right. So again, thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one, and we will see you next week.
Sometimes you'll wonder if you will be all you can be, and doubts can cloud